Hi everybody, today I would like to tell you something a little bit more about this book, which is called Atlas of AI, written by Kate Crawford. I recently finished this book and I found it particularly interesting because it covers an aspect of AI and technology that's not so common to be heard in mainstream media. This book is presenting a specific atlas of AI, hence the name. And if we look at the contents, we can see specific sections like Earth, labor, data, classification, affect, state, power, and space. The book begins with some lessons from history and talks about a horse and a German teacher who took a horse and trained the horse to behave like he can actually understand humans and predict what humans are thinking. So this is a really nice example how people can be tricked to believe something that is not true, and it can translate to AI today, where many people are just anthropomorphizing the AI and thinking that it's actually a person behind the hood, but it's not. If you go forward, we can see different aspects of treating this technology. And for example, when we speak about labor and data and classification, there are many nice ideas and overviews which connects to many big companies. There's one interesting aspect when you talk about resources and how today the most common resource to be wanted is silicon or lithium. When we look at the history, this was also the case, just the resources are changing. So if you go back to the late or second half of the 19th century, the most wanted resource back then was latex, and the people were using that to build transoceanic cables for communication. There is a specific example here that in 1857 the first transatlantic cable was around 1800 miles long and weighed 2,000 tons, requiring about 250 tons of this specific plant. To produce this, for just 1 ton of this material, it required around 900,000 trees. So the jungles of Malaysia and Singapore were stripped. So that's how this material, this is the plant we talk about here, was influencing the environment. So many trees and many forests were lost just in order to make this happen. And today, when we speak about AI, the most needed resources are lithium, of course, and silicon. And we have the lithium mines, which are not so friendly to environment. So it's good to be aware about this aspect, or maybe the negative side of technology. Another thing that I like about this book are the illustrations, and each section has a really nice, really intriguing and thoughtful illustration presenting that chapter. And if we go forward, for example, when we speak about the data, this is the illustration about data. And classification of data and collecting data, it's also really interesting how it became common for everybody who are able, the big companies, to gather the data without anybody's consent from public spaces. And that is the data actually being used today to train these large language models, machine learning, and, for example, face recognition and so on. And the book goes on about many different aspects of this technology, and it finishes up with the maybe most interesting and now evolving field of space. How big companies are now looking outwards because of the needs of energy, and the Earth is becoming not sufficient enough. They are looking towards space. There was one agreement signed up by all countries that nobody will use space resources to gain their own benefits, but just to gain or to benefit the humanity. However, some companies are now rewriting this agreement, and they are looking forward to exploit many resources from our atmosphere. So in general, that will be a brief explanation, and hope it's going to get you interested to have a look at this book. I think it's really important, not just to speak about AI as a really amazing tool, which it is, but also to speak about what is the cost of having this tool today in our society and in our hands.